So in my last video, I went over this shape. And this is a rootless voicing, though it can be other things as well. And using it as a C dominant seventh chord, because we have a third and a seventh, that gives us the dominant seventh chord. We don't really need the 5 to establish the chord. So we've got the third and the seventh. We're adding the 13th and the 9th. Now you can think of this as a 6th and a 2nd, if that makes it easier for you, but in correct musical terminology, because we already have a 7th, this becomes the 9th, this is still the 3rd, not the 10th, that's still the 3rd, and then this is the 13th, 13 notes up from C. And, we looked at this chord basically as an unaltered dominant 7th chord. However, it can be other things. I say it's unaltered because the 9th is not flatted, it's not sharped, it's just a regular 9, and same with the 13, it hasn't been flatted. You can't sharp it because that's just the 7th. So it's an unaltered chord, and if I was to move it this way, it would remain unaltered. However, it can also function as a altered dominant, as F sharp. Now, again, we have the 3rd and the 7th, though those positions have been reversed. This is the 3rd, this is the 7th. This is the sharp 9, and this is the flat 13. And it gives us kind of a really nice kind of chord, dominant chord with a lot of bite. Using it like that. Now, when you're going through the cycle of fifths, which you're going to do on turnarounds and in lots of songs, songs follow the cycle of fifths, probably 75% of the time anyway, and you're going to an F chord like this, and if you just use the same shape, now it's an altered dominant. Back on B flat, it's unaltered again. And then going to E flat, it's altered. To A flat, unaltered, and then I'm just going to go down a half step, keep it unaltered, and end up on C. So this is the chord progression that I'm going to be using to demonstrate our next shape, which is the shape 2. And shape 2, we talked about this being shape 1. That's what I've just been using. Shape 2 is simply the inversion of that. You take the 2 bottom notes and move them to the top. Okay, now why would you want to do this? Because suppose you don't want all those altered dominants. You can take shape 1, unaltered, dominant, shape 2, and it's characterized by having, let's see, what is it here? It's like a stack of fourths and this half step in between here. You have the 3rd on the bottom, you go up a 4th, you go up another 4th, and you have a minor 2nd there. So that's shape 2. Then we're going back to shape 1 again for B flat, unaltered. And by going to shape 2, we keep that unaltered sound. And we're ending back on C. Now, it's very, very common to go through this kind of progression with your left hand. I can't do the bass line at the same time. But it does give the bass player some freedom. The bass player can, keep you playing an unaltered chord, but if the bass player goes to the B instead, then you get the unaltered. Then you get the altered dominant. So, these shapes can be either unaltered or altered, depending on how, what the bass note is. So we're going to go through our progression again, unaltered this time, again. And now I'm going to change the bass notes, make it altered, then unaltered, then altered, unaltered, another unaltered. Though if I wanted altered, I could change to shape 2 again and end back up here on C. Now, you could kind of mix and match these things, as long as you're, using one of the right versions, if it's either unaltered or altered on C there. That's a C altered. There you see I've got my fourths and this. And I've said this before, you can use the 3-note versions of these as well, like this. All right? So 3-note versions of shape 1, you take out the 3rd note from the top, right? You leave that one out. And the same with shape 2, you leave out 1, 2, 3rd note from the top, or 2nd note from the bottom. You do the math, all right? And they are easier to play, and they sound just as good. Now, you really can't tell if they're altered or unaltered when I'm doing that because there's no bass note in there. If the bass player sticks to the cycle of fifths, they will all be unaltered. However, if the bass player gets more adventurous, that time, I did basically the same thing, but from F, instead of going to B flat, I did the tritone substitution, which is, simply going down chromatically, right? I could keep going down chromatically or jump back on the cycle of fifths thing, right? Before that was an E flat. Before that was the last time I did it, that was an A flat. But see, now it's an altered chord. I would say the primary function of shape 1, or, and I'll do it this way because that's the diagram there, shape 1 or shape 2 is as dominant chords, right? Either unaltered, both of these are unaltered, or if I had D flat, tritone substitution, now it's an altered chord. See, it's a sharp 9 chord. If I do the 4-note version, I add the flat 13. Same with this one. Here, I actually only have the flat 13, don't have the sharp 9. But, you have to have the 3rd and the 7th. However, there is at least 2 other very important functions of these shapes, and that will be the subject of my next video.